The Doctor, nearing the end of his seventh life, is charged with transporting the remains of his fellow Time Lord, the Master, back to their home planet. Despite his precautions, his old enemy is not only not dead, but is out for revenge, creating a timing malfunction in the TARDIS and bringing the Doctor to San Francisco in 1999. The Master escapes and puts his plans into motion. Doctor must find a beryllium atomic clock and stop the Master, but after being shot down by members of a street gang, how will he succeed? Welcome, friends and companions. How are you today? Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you? Doo-doo. Dat is something like that. Sci-Fi Fantasy fans and all sort of fans meet on this channel for fun chats about beloved books, movies, series, and franchises. We also talk about food and drinks, music and sport, and a special place on this channel for Doctor Who. Ooh, ooh. My most beloved series. I will watch it till eternity. Yes, I love the Doctor very much. This channel has multiple names. It regenerates regularly. Most of the time, it's called Random Entertainment Channel. Random because we could discuss everything that involves entertainment, including movies and series, books and music. Random because we broadcast on non-fixed time, actually many different times. That's also the case with the Doctor. Doctor travels through time and space in past, present, and future. And the reason behind I live stream at different times is I want to meet as much people as possible because of different time zones and countries. I want to make friends and companions. So you need to subscribe to the channel to know what time the podcast is actually. Random also because we have no guests or different guests. It depends what you show me in live stream or panel. If you want to show me in live stream, feel free to contact me via you can actually put a comment in one of the YouTube videos, or you can visit me on Discord and we look what is possible. What's always possible to invite me for your channel for a live stream or panel. I also want to contribute to your channel. I want to make friends, companions, and I want to meet you. So I know and like gladly want to talk about things we are interested in. So, in summary, you are invited for a live stream panel here, and feel free to invite me for your channel for a live stream panel. I want to contribute some to network. So the Discord server is called Run an Entertainment Channel Tag Doctor Who. On Discord, you find me very quick because I bump the server regularly. The Discord server is the place to be. Actually, you can talk on the server before, during, and after live streams. So feel free to join. So cheers, mate. Have lots of fun. This is your host, Enigmatic Joker. Enigma, mysterious, civil, random, expanded and extended. So yes, looking forward to meet you. So today we have an eighth Doctor story poem again, and that is Doctor Who, the television movie from 1996. There's much to talk about this television movie. In the past, I did some live streams uh, uh, about this movie, and actually about the Eighth Doctor and his companions. First of all, I did a live stream about the Eye of Harmony. I explained some things about that. Actually, there are some references in the past about the Eye of Harmony. Um, yeah, I was watching today. I was rewatching The Deadly Assassin from the Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, and there's also a mention of the Eye of Harmony. Uh, so I have in the past I have explained some things about the Eye of Harmony because it's also a thing in this television movie. Um, what I also did is in the past I talked about the companions of the Eighth Doctor, and I explained then in that live stream that Actually, we have one on-screen um, story with the Eighth Doctor come again, and one minisode when he's actually regenerating into the War Master. But the most of the things is found in Big Finish for the Eighth Doctor concerns. So I discussed in that live stream about companions. And there's also a live stream about the personality of the Eighth Doctor and the War Doctor together. Um, so, but today we are doing the whole story about this television movie, about this story. And first, to do some general info about this television movie from 1996. Then I will dive into the plot, and I will name some cast members. And um, I don't know how long this live stream will be, but I will certainly want to do the plot and the continuity because they are tied together, of course, and I want to explain some things in context. So not so much story notes today, and not so much world building, a little bit, but maybe. But I want to do in depth the plot, some analysis about the story, things are what are interesting to talk about. So it's a little bit different because, and again, this is a television story, so there's much things in it. It is actually it is in between the classic era and the, yeah, how you call that, new era of Doctor Who, between 1989 and 2005, sometimes called the wilderness years. So yeah, okay, we do some general info now. Okay, let's go. Um, Doctor Who, often also known as the TV movie, was a made-for-TV movie based on the original series. It was written by Matthew Jacobs, directed by Jeffrey Sachs, and featured the introductions of Paul McGann as the Eighth Doctor, Daphne Esbrook as Grace Holloway, Ji So as Chang Li, and Eric Roberts as the Master, making Roberts the first American actor to portray an established antagonist in Doctor Who. Um, it was made as an attempt to relaunch and continue the Doctor Who television franchise in UK and abroad. With no on-screen title other than Doctor Who, home video releases of the film from BBC Video are marketed under the title Doctor Who the Movie. The movie featured Sylvester McCoy's final chronological appearance as the Seventh Doctor and his regeneration into the Eighth Doctor. A large period of time is implied to have passed since survival, as the Seventh Doctor has parted with his companion Ace. Is visibly older, is dressed differently, and is traveling alone. The TARDIS interior has likewise been revamped with a brand new console room. They did away with the simplistic white roundel design present throughout the show's history. The story is also the first time that one Doctor's regeneration story also acts as the post-regeneration story for another Doctor. While the beginning of the film focuses on the Seventh Doctor after he regenerates, the rest of the film focuses on the Eighth Doctor, with parts of the story showing the new Doctor going through post-regeneration issues as past incarnations before him. This story marked the return of the Doctor's sonic screwdriver for the first time in 14 years, since 1982's The Visitation. And The Visitation, that is um, a fifth Doctor story with Edric, Nyssa, and Tegan. But the main enemy in this story is the Pterodactyl leader. Um, so, um, This would be the last televised story of Doctor Who until 2005's Rose, leaving a 9-year gap, also known as the Wilderness Years. Wilderness Years. Even though the movie failed to get Doctor Who renewed as a television series, the series was kept alive through comics, novels, and audio stories of the Eight Doctors' adventures. Yes, the big finish. So, actually, very grateful for that. Um, the film was co-produced by the BBC and Fox Networks. Filmed in Canada, the movie introduced McGann as the Eighth Doctor and was his only on-screen performance in the role for 7 years until TV minisode Night of the Doctor 2013. Um, the telemovie won a Saturn Award in 1996 for the best television presentation. Um, good. What about? I want to a little bit also talk about the Night of the Doctor TV story. So what happened is that in his 50th anniversary special, Supreme Co Minnesota, uh, um, um, this was initially made available on BBC iPlayer on 14 November 2013. Um, it was what I was already saying was it was the first it marked Paul McGann's first on-screen live action appearance on the Eight Doctor since 1996 TV movie. It saw the return of the Sisterhood of Karn, last seen in 1976, The Brain of Morbius. That's with the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker. And this was also the first appearance of Claire Higgins as Ohila, a woman in the Sisterhood who had a history with the Doctor. And so what I already was saying was that this episode, along with having Paul McGann reprise his role as the Eighth Doctor on screen, also shows the Eighth Doctor's regeneration to the War Doctor. And usually making Paul McGann the only actor for the Doctor to have physically acted in a role only in stories involving the Doctor regenerating. This fact was still holding true to his third physical appearance as manifestation of the Doctor's past incarnations in The Power of the Doctor. It is with the 13th Doctor regeneration story in 2022. Um, so it's a little bit about Night of the Doctor, the Minnesota 50, actually the Minnesota before 50th anniversary special. Okay, that's what for that. Now we're now diving into the plot. It's always good to mention that this um, the main setting of this movie is San Francisco in 30th December 1999 till 1 of the 1st of January 2000. Broadcast was in 1996, and this was a 86-minute telefilm, so about 1.5 hours. Okay, plot. If you haven't watched this movie, this story yet, I highly recommend you to do that. Uh, Otherwise, you can listen further to the plot. It's a long plot, but we will go for it. Okay, let's go. As part of a treaty between the Time Lords and Daleks, Time Lord criminal the Old Master has been placed on trial on Scarrow and sentenced to extermination for his life of evil. As part of a last and somewhat curious request, the Master asks that his old rival, the Doctor, now late in his seventh incarnation, escort his ashes back to Gallifrey for proper burial. It was a request they should have never granted. The Doctor narrates that Time Lords have 13 lives, but the Master had already used up all his own. However, rules never mattered much to the Dark Master, as he always found a way around them and kept on living. So even though the Master was dead, the Doctor knew he couldn't trust him. In fact, what I was saying is in a Deadly Assassin, the Master's also on the end of his regeneration cycle. He managed also to have another. Okay, further to his story. Fishing a sonic screwdriver out of a toolbox, the doctor locks the urn containing the master's ashes inside another box. Doctor smiles, glad to have added a precaution. Narrating again, the doctor claims he had learned by the end of his seventh life that he could not help but be too careful. After returning to the main control room, the seventh doctor sets the TARDIS coordinates for Gallifrey in the Restylon era. Um, yeah, I hear you say, what is the Restylon era? Now, the Restylon era is in fact referred to that part of the timeline during which the Time Lords ruled the planet Gallifrey and observed but seldom interfered with the flow of universal history. It presumably began with the ascendancy of Restylon, founder of the Time Lords Society. It ended with the transportation of Gallifrey to a pocket universe at the conclusion of the last great Time War. Gallifreyan civilization exists far in the past of the 20th century time continuum. See that in prose cut opera. And due to the nature of time travel, the exact relation between the Restylon and Humanian eras, specifically whether they ran in succession or overlapped, is uncertain. Although the TARDIS navigational system differentiated between the two. You see that in this story. In this story, we see this in this television movie. By the Gregorian calendar, the Time Lords had at 10 million years of absolute power by the year 2 million. We see it in the link to the TV story The Ultimate Foe. And that was that's a sixth Doctor story with Mel and Glitz, the Three Master. My enemy is the Villiard. Dat was, in fact, this story was the Ultimate Foe was the fourth story of the Trial of Time Lord. So in context. However, the Western era had run since the Dark Times. The Dark Times. How will you say about what is the Dark Times? The Dark Times is often referred is before the time and before time. This much simple explanation about the Dark Times. There are many references in different audios, and also but mainly also in one of the animated stories, Infinite Quest. The Infinite Quest. That is a story with the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. There was a special animated Doctor Who serial broadcasting during the series 3, and there was also Freema as Meta Jones in it. So that's about the Restylon era and the Dark Times. So the Dark Times is simply said, it's the time before time, actually, if you understand. Okay. Back to other things, general info about this happen is with the plot. Confident that nothing can go wrong now that he's ensured that the Master's remains are safely sealed, Doc decides to relax on the trip back. Sitting in a recliner, the doctor enjoys a cup of tea and resumes reading H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, whilst eating a bowl of jelly babies. Yeah, we see that first time in For Doctor, Tom Baker. At the same time, he has in a dream playing on his gramophone. Gramophone. Nearby, the casket containing the master's ashes shakes violently. The record begins skipping on the word time, but the doctor fixes it, remaining unaware of the situation. The shaking grows worse, causing the record to start skipping worse. The casket breaks open. Doctor's cup of tea crashes to the ground, and the record skips to stop. Realizing that he is trying to be told something, the doctor immediately becomes suspicious of the master. A snake-like creature emerges from the box and, unseen by the doctor, slithers into the TARDIS console. The resulting effect of the console malfunctioning as sparks fly out finally rouses the doctor. Leaving his chair, he rushes to fix it, but is unsuccessful. A critical timing malfunction forces him to make an emergency landing. Concerned that the master may have had a hand in this, the doctor quickly returns to where he left the ashes, only to see the box cracked open. Oh oh. The doctor, shocked, stares at it with a worried expression. The TARDIS exits the time vortex, heading to Earth. And that's sometimes the case with some terms. Uh, Sometimes we think that everyone understands what a time vortex is, but for the people who don't know this, I want a little bit explanation. The time vortex is also known as the time and space vortex. Space-time vortex, or sometimes simply the vortex, and occasionally the Bifrost or the tourbillon, was the dimensional plane where time and space met, intersected at an angle determined by non-Euclidean geometry. But other universes had their own vortices. In fact, um, so it is also the case that exists outside of time and the universe itself, meaning time vortex that being in the vortex constitute being outside of time. You see that in Time Monster, for example, travels through the vortex where neither connected or to nor separated from time. Described as akin to a series of corridors that connected everything and everyone in the universe. So when one was in the vortex, they were both nowhere and everywhere. So it's a little bit of timey-wimey. So, in short, the space-time vortex exists outside of any normal frame of reference. Within it, light, darkness, matter, and energy all blend, divide, shift, and change. It analyzes the whole of creation, touching the normal universe only slightly. Its pathways are twisted, unstable, and hard to follow. A journey through these strange dimensions might take a moment and carry a traveler a million years and a billion light years from its origin. Alternatively, a journey of months in the vortex might end in a shift of 6 feet and then 10 days in conventional space. Without being able to calculate the pathways, there was simply no telling. So there's some things about the time vortex in terms of 10th Doctor Timey-wimey. In fact, he traveled to time and space. So, meanwhile, in San Francisco, on December the 30th, 1999, two local Chinese-American gangs are having a shootout, reducing one to just Shang Li. When the other gangsters prepare to fire on him, the TARDIS materialization wind picks up and it appears in front of Lee. The gang fruitlessly fire at the TARDIS, emptying their guns. And while they reload, the Doctor exits the TARDIS to find his bearings, only to be shot by the gangsters, who quickly flee. Lee runs to the Doctor's side. Doctor tries to warn Lee about the Master, who has slipped through the TARDIS keyhole. However, Lee doesn't turn around in time to see him. The Doctor falls unconscious and Lee quickly runs to get an ambulance and accompanies the Doctor to Walker General Hospital. Unseen, the Master stows away in the ambulance. At the hospital, a surgeon removes the bullets, but the doctor's two hearts cause confusion for the medical team. They assume he is fibrillating and that the X-ray showing his two hearts is a double exposure. A cardiologist, Dr. Grace Holloway, is summoned from her visit to the opera and attempts to stabilize the doctor's heartbeat, regaining consciousness from pre-op sedation by music from the Madame Butterfly opera, which Grace was watching at the theater just as she about to begin the operation. The doctor tries to prevent it by explaining his non-terrestrial origins and tells Grace that he needs a beryllium atomic clock. Salinger implies that they can wait any longer to begin the operation, and Grace will ask the anesthesiologist administer the anesthetic. However, the doctor fights the sedation and wakes from it twice, furiously telling the people in the operating room, timing malfunction, that monster is out there! He's out there! I've got to stop him! The medical team think this is just incoherent babble brought on by the anesthesia and attempt to put him to sleep again. Once the doctor falls asleep, they insert an endotracheal breathing tube in his throat and start their operation to stabilize his heartbeat. Doctor's enmity confuses Grace, who believes his unusual fast heartbeat is an unwanted and life-threatening fibrillation. She decides to do exploratory surgery to fix it. She gets lost in his right side, which holds a second heart. Knowing that she should be in the right side of his body, the surgical team identify his second heart blood veins as the left side of the heart, normal human heart parts. Grace attempts to move the microscopic probe in her plan B and accidentally damages his unfamiliar circulatory system with the probe, causing the doctor's sedated body to have a massive seizure. She is not able to get the probe out when it snaps off inside one of his vital heart vessels, mortally wounding him. The medical team shock his body in an attempt to restart his heart. The doctor's body starts to spasm violently, and he wakes from the anesthetic one more time, forced into consciousness by the incredible pain he is now feeling. He lets out a final horribly agonized scream and collapses on the operating table. The medical team fail to revive the doctor, and they pronounce him dead. Grace takes off her surgical glasses and cap and runs out of the room upset. Peeler covers the body with the doctor's surgical drapes. When Grace tries to comfort Lee with the death of the doctor, she realizes that he doesn't know him. Lee runs off with the doctor's possessions as Grace cannot run after him in her opera dress. The doctor is wheeled into the morgue for dissection the next day, with the morgue attendant Pete making a spot jokes at the dead body. Around the same time, the master has hitched a ride to the home of one of the ambulance workers, Bruce, by hiding in his jacket. Bruce snores with his wife, Miranda, in annoyance. She wraps a pillow around her head to block the sound. The master shouts up to Bruce, quickly shoving himself down the man's throat. Suffocated, Bruce dies. Bruce's master then gains control of the man's body. Unknowing of this, Miranda assumes Bruce simply stopped snoring and sleeps. Um, Later that night, as Pete on night shift at the morgue watches the 1931 film version of Frankenstein, the doctor comes back to life and at last regenerates into his eighth body. His old face twists and warps into the features of a brand new younger man, followed by a release of dense, foggy breath from his mouth. Surprised and slightly disorientated, he springs up from the gurney and begins banging on the door, attracting Pete's attention. When Pete arrives to see what is the source of the sound, the new doctor knocks the metal door off its hinges. He is clad in just a shroud, a sight mirrored by the image in a movie. Pete faints in shock while the doctor stumbles into a deserted wing of the hospital. He walks into a room where he sees himself in broken pieces of mirror. Confused by his new face, he falls to his knees and cries out, "Who am I?" The next morning, the doctor, after going through numerous hospital lockers, steals the Wild Bill Hickok costume that Pete's co-worker Ted intended to wear to the hospital's New Year's Eve costume party. He leaves the costume's gun belt behind, though, seeing no use for it. Meanwhile, Chang Li goes through the doctor's possessions, finding a sonic screwdriver, pocket watch, jelly babies, a yo-yo, and TARDIS key. Elsewhere, Miranda wakes to find, unbeknownst to her, the Master staring out the window. As the Master talks to himself about Bruce's body, not lasting long, and his need to find a doctor, and happy to see he has a sense of humor and no longer snores, she asks him to come back to bed. The Master turns around, shocking her with the cat-like eyes he acquired on Cheetah World. That's a link to, yeah, to the to in fact to survival. That's with Seventh Doctor Sylvester McCoy and Ace. You see that in Cheetah Planets, but it's for another time. That story. So Miranda attempts to scream in horror, who is grabbed by the neck by the Master, who shushes her. After a moment, he breaks her neck and begins thinking about stealing the Doctor's lives. At the hospital, the Doctor, still struggling with severe disorientation, hangs out in the hospital reception, where he happens to recognize Grace, who has quit her hospital job after an argument with the hospital administrator over covering up the surgery, and follows her to her car, asking for help as he believes she knows who he is. Grace tells the Doctor to leave her alone, convinced he is crazy. She screams when she finds the Doctor in her car in agony, but he removes the source of his pain, the surgical probe which Grace had left in him the previous night. The sight convinces her that this strange man is in fact her supposedly dead patient. She then drives off with the doctor at his request to prevent the hospital staff from killing him again. So Bruce, actually the master, goes to the hospital, where he learns that the doctor died during surgery, that his body is missing, and Lee has taken his possessions. Grace takes the doctor to her house, where she discovers that her boyfriend has left her and taken some of her furniture to boot. So she listens to the doctor's hearts and takes a sample of his blood. When the doctor's spotty memory begins to return, the anecdotes about Puccini and Leonardo da Vinci. He also explains that he has 13 lives, going on to say Grace became a doctor because of her childhood dream to hold back death. According to the doctor, she'll do great things. Grace is still skeptical despite the confirmation of the doctor's two hearts. Elsewhere, Chang Li uses the TARDIS key to enter the TARDIS, where he encounters the Master who entered before him. The Master hypnotizes Li into giving him the Doctor's possessions by staring at him with his inhuman eyes. So, searching through the bag, the Master demands to know where the Doctor is. He says that the items he stole are his now, that the Doctor is dead. With a snarl, the Master informs Li that the Doctor is not dead and that he will die unless he finds him. Wondering what he'll get out of assisting the Master, Lee is told he'll get to life. Elsewhere, Grace has given the Doctor a pair of shoes left behind by her boyfriend, letting him keep them. Her attempts to examine the Doctor's blood fail. They decide to take a walk, hoping to jog his memory, during which the Doctor happily remembers seeing a wonderful meteor storm on Gallifrey with his father during his initial incarnation. He then joyously announces that his new shoes fit perfectly and runs off happily, much to Grace's amusement. So there's actually a reference to the father of the Doctor. So interesting. Rummaging through some of the drawers, the Master withdraws some red pouches, going on to say the TARDIS and the Doctor's body were stolen from him. He once more says the Doctor died. The Master explains it's half true. That the body of the seventh Doctor died, but the Doctor regenerated into a new one. He goes on to lie that the Doctor used 7 of his lives to commit terrible deeds. claiming Genghis Khan was one incarnation of the Doctor. He then gives Lee the pouches, which contain 5 million in gold dust, as payment for his help, promising a full billion once he gets, quote, his body back. So the master takes Lee to the cloister room, where he uses Lee's human eyes to open the Eye of Harmony. So here he is, the Eye of Harmony. I did a live stream about that in the past. So the TARDIS power source. In the meantime, the Doctor regains his memories in a fit of enthusiasm. The Doctor announces, "I am the Doctor!" and kisses Grace, who asks him to kiss her again. In the cloister room, the Master sees a series of images: the Seventh Doctor, newly regenerated Eighth Doctor, and a human retina. The latter causes him to announce, "The Doctor is half human." Also, interesting statements. Talk about a little bit of hybrids. Um, I did, again and again. I repeat myself here. Hive Harmony. I have discussed that in the past, what it is, but it's interesting to for you don't know what about the cloister room and some things. The cloister room was a section of the Doctor's TARDIS. It appeared to be ancient with benches on the side of the room and plants growing on the crumbling pillars. The third Doctor visited this room with Edric shortly before his regeneration. That is a TV story, Logopolis. Um, so that's a thing about and in this story then when the TARDIS interior went through a metamorphosis, the cloister room became a grand and gothic room similar to a place of worship with an interface with the Eye of Harmony, and we see that is also in this story. And so the Eighth Doctor visited the cloister room shortly after his regeneration when he fell victim to the Bruce's master trap. Then prose the Eight Doctors, so a little bit of that. um Okay, continue to the story. The Doctor becomes aware that the Master has opened the Eye of Harmony as he holds Grace. At the same time, the Master and Lee see her through the Doctor's vision. However, the Doctor shuts his eyes, preventing nothing more than audio to come through the eye's projection. The Doctor explains the Master's plan. He hopes to force the Doctor to look into the Eye of Harmony, which will destroy his soul and allow the Master to take over his body. The Master says the Doctor is lying again. However, Lee is worried Grace might believe him. At the same time, the Doctor asks Grace to help him find a beryllium atomic clock. However, Grace runs back to her house. The Doctor opens his again, but the visual doesn't return to the eye. The Doctor tries to talk to Grace, but she calls him insane and phones for an ambulance to take the Doctor to a mental institution. To prove that the eye is open and changing the physical structure of the planet, the Doctor presses against one of the windows, making it bend. He walks through it and into Grace's house. The Doctor explains that at midnight the entire Earth will be sucked through it unless he can close it in time. Collapsing in shock, Grace asks for 2 ambulances over the phone. Hearing this, the Master decides to use the identity of his stolen body to commandeer an ambulance. Whitley. The Doctor weights himself on the scale as Grace's television reports strange weather occurring around the world, which has been caused by the eyes opening. The Doctor is even more shocked to see he has lost 20 pounds in just the same amount of minutes. Watching a news report, the Doctor hears that a beryllium atomic clock is being unveiled at ITAR. When the ambulance arrives, the EMT is the Master, and the unseen driver is Chen Li. Doctor doesn't see Lee or know it's the Master. The Doctor asks to be taken to ITAR. Grace is still skeptical, but indicates for the driver to play along. As they are being driven, the Doctor questions Grace as to why she didn't tell him she had access to an atomic clock. Still playing along, Grace says she was more worried about what would happen to the Earth if the eye isn't shut. Their conversations change the subject, in which the Doctor explains he met Sigmund Freud and Madame Curie. However, Lee slams on the brakes at the traffic jam, making the ambulance shake, causing the sunglasses the Master had been using to hide his inhuman eyes to fall off. The doctor recognizes him. Putting his glasses back on, the master has them pulled back off by the doctor, who gets out of the way of a burning, viscous substance spat by his foe. It lands on Grace's wrist. The doctor temporarily blinds him with a extinguisher while they flee, and they flee into the blocked traffic as Lee cleans the foam of the master. A policeman tells them to go back to their vehicles, but the doctor instead offers him a jelly baby. Skeptical about the sweet, the officer eats it. Grace explains that the doctor is British to explain his odd habits just as he takes the officer's gun and points it at himself. He demands the officer hand over his motorcycle. The doctor turns his attention to Grace, who he tells that he cannot make her dream to hold back death last forever, but he can make it come true tonight. Believing the doctor, Grace takes the gun and shoots the radio, preventing the officer from calling for backup. They take the keys and drive off, leaving the gun behind. At the same time, the master reminds Lee that they are in an ambulance, which can go past traffic jams if the sirens are on. And Lee complies and takes a shortcut to Itar. The doctor and Grace arrive shortly after, finding the empty ambulance. The master and Lee are already inside, waiting for them. Grace, a board member of ITAR, gets herself and the doctor inside the party. While looking around for a way to reach the clock, the doctor explains that time travel is possible and that Time Lords who run out of regenerations, like the Master, are desperate in a fight for survival. She also gives him the alias Dr. Bowman, while introducing him to Professor Wag, creator of the clock. As the doctor tells Professor Wag a secret, I'm half human on my mother's side. Very interesting, by the way. It tells that in this case, um, his father is a Time Lord and his mother is a human in this in this story in the television movie. So this is a statement of the doctor in this story. Interesting. So go for it. So he when he tells it, he's sure with leprosy removes Rex's security pass, and so Grace and the doctor steal a small component from the clock, which he needs to repair the TARDIS. They spot the master and Zheng Li in the crowd, which prompts them to head for the exit. They then find guards that the master subdued by using the same substance. They are frozen in place, covered in gold. The doctor activates the fire alarm to liven things up as he and Grace make their escape by lowering themselves from the roof with a fire hose. They flee on the motorcycle, being chased by police, and arrive at the TARDIS, where the doctor remembers that he keeps a spare key in a cubbyhole above the letter P in police box. One police motorcycle enters the TARDIS, and moments later flees in shock, much to the doctor's amusement. Then at the TARDIS, where the cloister bell is ringing. Um, the cloister bell could also do a little bit of explanation about that. The cloister bell was used in the most serious of emergencies, which saw either a TARDIS or its inhabitants in danger. Its distinctive sonorous ringing sound resembled that of a large church bell. It could be answered by anyone inside a TARDIS. So the fourth doctor told Edric that if he needed him, Edric could sound the cloister bell, indicating it could be manually activated. He claimed that the ringing of the bell heralded wild catastrophes and sudden calls to man the battle stations. That's the TV story Logopolis. Um, Actually, in some comic, it had the physical appearance of a large golden bell. And also, cloister bells were located in the cloisters of Gallifrey. Could be heard all over the planet when sounding. Seen at the TV story Hill Band with the 12th Doctor. so that the doctor is able to close the Eye of Harmony. However, a quick temporal scan confirms that the eye has been open too long and the Earth is still in danger. The only solution is to take the TARDIS back to a time before the eye was opened. But since the eye was open so long, the TARDIS now has no power. Doctor attempts to jumpstart the TARDIS by drawing energy directly from the eye. While working on the console, the Doctor wonders why Grace is not helping as he instructed her to give him his neutron ram, looking up to see her eyes have turned black. Grace has been taken over by the Master's will. Grace knocks the Doctor out with a magnetic clamp, just as the Master and Lee enter the TARDIS. The Doctor awakens to find himself strapped to a gurney in a cloister room. Chang Li and the possessed Grace chain the Doctor to a balcony, under the supervision of the Master, who has decided to dress for the occasion in Gallifreyan robes. Lee explains he'll be rich once the Master gets his body back. However, the Doctor tells him the Master neglected to mention Earth would be destroyed, making his payment pointless. By the Doctor's slight manipulation, the Master inadvertently contradicts his earlier lies to Lee by claiming to have used all his lives. Lee now believes the Doctor and refuses to help the Master. Rather than waste more time by hypnotizing Lee again, the Master snaps his neck. The Doctor comments that only Grace is left to open the eye, but her eyes are not human. The Master taunts the Doctor and removes his influence of Grace as he kisses her, then forces her to look into the eye. As the Master begins to absorb the Doctor's life energy, the Doctor implores Grace to return to the console room and jumpstart the TARDIS. Several disasters happen all around the Doctor as several disasters happen all around the Earth as lightning and heavy winds surround the TARDIS. Grace enters the control room as sparks fly out of the console. In the cloister room, the Master begins hearing the Doctor's memories and feeling his life force come into him, even briefly taking on his form several times. As the Earth celebrates the approaching New Year, Grace manages to start the TARDIS 1 second before midnight. Having remembered, the Doctor told her piloting a TARDIS is like setting an alarm clock. The TARDIS enters a temporal orbit, something she needs the Doctor to explain. She returns to the cloister room and frees the Doctor, but the Master attacks them both. He throws her off the balcony, killing her. And the Doctor and the Master struggle over the open eye, and the Master falls in. The Doctor attempts to save him, but the Master rejects his hand and is sucked into the eye. The TARDIS slips back in time before midnight. Energy travels from the eye to the bodies of Grace and Chang Li, reviving them, and the eye closes. Amused by how sentimental his TARDIS is, the Doctor asks Grace how it felt to hold back death. He then congratulates them as they've been somewhere he's never been yet. So Grace tells him there's nothing to be afraid of, but wonders if they've come back far enough. The Doctor tells her that they have, or he's talking to a bunch of ghosts, and he doesn't believe in them. So they return to the console room where, through a high-tech dome, the Doctor shows them alien galaxies and his home planet. The questions where the Master is just as a grumbling is heard from the TARDIS. Indigestion, Doctor remarks. Deciding where to leave them, the Doctor asks if they wish to be deposited back on the 29th of December. While Grace would rather not live through the day again, he knows he won't survive it. Instead, the Doctor takes them to exactly the first minute of 2000 in a city park. The Doctor allows Lee to keep the bags of gold dust Master originally bribed him with. It tells him not to be in San Francisco next Christmas. In exchange, Lee gives back the bag containing the seven Doctor's belongings. Doctor asks Grace to travel with him, but she refuses and asks if the Doctor will stay with her. However, both know he won't, and they kiss. Grace then Grace thanks the Doctor, but he says, "No, thank you, Doctor." The Doctor leads in the TARDIS off to a new adventure, conducting maintenance on the new part inside the console with his newly recovered sonic screwdriver. Doctor asks his beloved time machine where it will be they're going in this time, as he has no reason to go back to California now. He settles back in his armchair in the TARDIS control room to continue reading H.G. Wells' novel The Time Machine. The gramophone record that he is listening to suddenly stops skipping again as the TARDIS continues on its flight. All the doctor says is, "Oh no, not again." And that, my friends and companions, is the end of the story. I will name some cast members. Doctor is played by Palm again. The old Doctor is played by Sylvester McCoy. Bruce and the Master is played by Eric Roberts. Grace Holloway is played by Daphne Asbrook. Cheng Li is played by Gigi Tso. Salinger is played by John Novak. Dr. Switz is played by Michael David Sims. Reader is played by Catherine Law. Curtis is played by Dolores Drake. Pete is played by Will Sasso. Garrett is played by Jeremy Rennick. Miranda is played by Elisa Roberts. Motham Psycho Policeman is played by Bill Croft. Professor Wag is played by Dave Urtubise. Ted is played by Joel Wirkunen. Security guard is played by DJ Jackson. The old master is played by Gordon Tipple. News anchor is played by me, John Lee. And the news anchor is played by Joanne Pyros. Okay. Um, so world building in Gallifrey. Wrestling era appears on TARDIS console room and screen. The seal of Rosalind is featured extensively to the TARDIS. Carvings of Rosalind's head are used extensively in the cloister room, and Master uses the Eye of Harmony to spy on the Eighth Doctor and in an attempt to transfer his lives. Um, about the TARDIS, Dr. Stardust, on building Dr. Stardust, is that the odd-shaped TARDIS key last used before Doctor appears. The lock opening seen on the door slides a way to reveal a keyhole underneath which this key fits. Other things that there's a small cubbyhole in police in the sign above the doors in which the Doctor keeps a spare key. Another thing is that the Eighth Doctor states that his TARDIS is a Type 40 TARDIS, able to take you to any planet in the universe and to any point in that planet's existence. Fourth thing, Dr. Stardust did the master with Cheng Li's help opens up the Eye of Harmony. Okay. We will now dive immediately in the continuity because, and I repeat myself every live stream, uh, stories and episodes in the universe are to some extent related to each other, are referenced to each other, linked to each other, influenced to each other. Um, every fan has his own interpretation of stories and episodes. Actually, and every time I rewatch a story and episode, I discover new things. I see some relations with other stories and episodes. So this is also interpretation, always an interpretation. There are something in continuity. Um, few things, and that is following things. The Doctor has a tool bag containing some of his tools, such as the one used against Omega's fusion booster. That is a magnetic clamp, a laser cutter, and magnetic drone. Um, the Arc of Infinity, that is an fifth Doctor story with companion Nissa and Tegan. Um, and Earthshock is also a fifth Doctor story. Second thing is that the decayed master previously attempted to use the Eye of Harmony to give himself a new set of regenerations. And that was a already mentioning in this live stream. That the assassin for the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker. Um, so decayed master. That is in fact, that's some explanation that the decayed master is that's the 13th incarnation of the master that was less in his original regeneration cycle. Following an incident that left his body horribly disfigured, he began searching for a way to restore his Time Lord body, but only his intense hatred keeping him alive. He found numerous means of extending his life beyond natural limits by feeding off the Eye of Harmony with the Cess of Reshion, possessing the Draconite Primus, and utilizing a Deathworm Morphant. The master would inevitably refer to his decayed form before suffering a conclusive end at the hands of the ravenous, though he was soon resurrected by his other incarnations. So, um, already, if you want more about things like Eye of Harmony and the Cess of Roshalon, I refer to the post live stream in Eye of Harmony. I've made an I may have made a playlist. It is called the Mogan era. You find that information about the Eye of Harmony, Cess of Roshalon, the key, and everything. But for now, okay. A third thing is that the master states that the doctor made him waste all his lives. We see that in Prose, The Dark Path. A fourth thing is the cloister room is revisited. That's in the TV story Logopodus, last on-screen story of for Dr. Tom Baker. A fifth thing is that Pete watches the 1931 film version of Frankenstein as the doctor undergoes his seventh regeneration. The first Doctor encountered an android version of Frankenstein's monster at the Festival of Ghana in 1996. We see that in TV story The Chase. Sixth thing is that Death previously taunted the Doctor by telling him that his seventh incarnation would be die without warning, without purpose, afraid and alone. That's in prose, so val a sin. Um, a sad thing is that an alternative version of the Doctor settled down in San Francisco, eventually married Grace. That's prose, so val a sin. The eighth thing is that while the Doctor and Grace are escaping from Cheng Li and the Master via a ladder and fire hose, the Doctor cites a fear of heights. His fourth incarnation regenerated after a fatal drop from the Pharos Project telescope. You see that in TV story Molokopoulos. The next thing is that when the Doctor when the Doctor temporarily stops working, the Doctor fixes it by hitting the console. You see it in the TV story The Five Doctors. It's a special with a yeah with the Five Doctors. Actually, not with Tom Baker, but there was another thing that they arranged for fourth Doctor appearance. Yeah. Another thing is that the Doctor has a 900 year diary, similar to the 500-year diary he previously kept. That's in the story The Power of the Daleks. That is a story of the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, and with the companions Polly and Ben. Another thing is that the Doctor previously met H.G. Wells in the TV story Timeless. Timeless is a sixth Doctor story. Colin Baker, Perry, and the last thing is that the Master would later make another attempt at stealing Doctor's body and succeed, though only temporarily. And we see that in TV story The Power of Doctor with the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker. So that, my friends, is the end. Is all about everything I wanted to say about this story. There's so much things in this movie. You can do more and more licensings about this movie. But this is good for now. So I hope you enjoy this live stream. Um, oh, hello there, Katie. How are you doing? um, okay. Some commercial. Sci-Fi Fantasy fans meet on this channel for fun chats about their beloved books, movies, series, and franchises. We also talk about food and drinks, music and sport, and a special place on this channel for Doctor Who. So, random, because we will discuss everything that involves entertainment, including movies and series, books and music. Random, because we will broadcast on all fixed times, actually many different times. You need to subscribe to this channel to know what time the broadcast is. Random, also, because we have no guests or different guests. It depends on what you join me in live stream or panel. If you want to join me in live stream, feel free to contact me via Discord or YouTube and we will look what is possible. And what also is possible is to invite me for your live stream on your channel. I gladly want to contribute also on your channel and talk about things we are interested in. So feel free to invite me also for your channel on a live stream and panel. Um, Discord server is called Random Entertainment Channel Tech Doctor Who. On Discord, you find me very quick because I'm going to serve regularly. So cheers, mate. Have lots of fun, your host, Enigmatic Joker. So I'm looking forward to meet you. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye. Bye bye.